Welcome back to the Dr. America show. I am your host, Dr. Sanjeev Sriram. I want to thank you guys for riding with me today. This was an episode that covered a lot of different ground, and we revisited Ferguson, Missouri. In the first segment, we told our senators that we needed a surgeon general in the next segment. And in the last segment, I am challenging you guys to hit me with your best flu shot. In the previous episode, I talked about what the show is going to be and what it's about, but I don't think I've spent much time talking about why I am doing the Dr. America show. And I want to take a little bit of time to express where I'm coming from and what my purpose is with this show. I'm proud to be an American. I was born in this country, and I'm proud to wear these colors, and I'm particularly proud of this country's potential for acknowledging problems, improving ourselves, and the possibility of turning an ideal into a real. But all of that is in the language of potential and possibility, and there's a lot of struggle in all of that. There is no guarantee that for most of us. And, that's been true from the beginning of this country. One of our first sins, I feel, as a country, was that we made it okay to overlook the words, all men are created equal, or at least try to limit their meaning. Our Constitution came with a 3/5 clause, and that said that if you are in this slave profile, then you only count as 3/5 of a person, and if you are in this Native American profile, you don't count at all, and if you are in this white profile, you will be counted, but if you have lady parts, then you cannot vote. And right there at the beginning, we really robbed ourselves of being able to look at each other and say, all men are created equal. Some people look at the 3/5 clause as an unfortunate but necessary evil compromise between the different colonies, and that without it, it might not have been a united country. But no matter how you reason it, we codified that it was okay to not count a person as a whole person. And I think that we've struggled with seeing a person as a whole person ever since. The ideal of equality is still a work in progress. Even today, a century and a half after the Civil War and after the progress made by the women's suffragettes movement, and after the progress made by various civil rights movements and involving different minority groups, and after the progress made by the LGBT community, it feels like we still fail to see all the fifths of a person. We're still only seeing the 3/5 of our fellow Americans, either individually or as communities. And that is really evident in health. We have been locked into this biomedical paradigm where, we're seeing a person as, we see a person's health as their organs and their cells, and what happens when these things go wrong, and what kinds of drugs and devices we can put in there to fix it. But, and that's not to put down biomedicine, but it's still only 3/5 of a person's health. So what I want to do as Dr. America is broaden our perspective to all the fifths of health. Because, even when we do the biomedicine of healthcare totally right, we seem to have problems with making healthcare accessible to everyone. There are elements of our health that cannot be improved upon by clinical work. Yesterday was December 1st, World AIDS Day. And when you look at America's struggle with HIV, a huge part of the problem was that, we saw, and sometimes we continue to see our fellow Americans as only 3/5 of a human being. And, the stigma around HIV has made the virus deadlier than the virus itself. And yet fixing that stigma is going to take a lot more than what the biomedical paradigm has to offer. It's going to require us to evaluate, are we looking beyond 3/5 of a person's health. Similarly, we're in the middle of flu season right now. And, there are millions of Americans who go to work sick. They send their sick child to school. And it's because not all of them have, the benefit of paid sick days. Are we really looking at all the fifths of our fellow Americans, millions of these Americans, with, working these really tough low income jobs, and they're going back to work sick? Are we really looking at all 3/5 of them when we impose this false choice that you can have a little bit of your health or you can have a little bit of your wealth, but you can't have both? There has been more and more research that from the medicine and public health world showing that your zip code matters more than your DNA code when it comes to health outcomes. But if we don't see past the 3/5 of our fellow Americans, then we're going to have families continue to live in poverty, struggle to put food on the table, live in communities with air pollution, struggle with low employment, and all of the health consequences that come from these things. So, all of these issues are important to health. And so as Dr. America, I want to broaden our perspectives. I want to have more in-depth conversations. And through that dialogue, I think we can hopefully see all the fifths of our fellow human beings. Health is a really good platform for this discussion because, the experience of health, sickness, recovery, wellness, it's fundamentally human. And all of the things that we're going to talk about on this show, such as hunger, wages, police, the involvement of police brutality and racial profiling in our lives, these are all things that we should be able to connect with, as human to human and as American to American. And, finally, I think that when we do look at, past 3/5 of health, I think what we'll find is what I had originally talked about in the first episode, which is salud. In Spanish, it means health. It means bless you. It means cheers. And, there are times on Dr. America where we will get to the scientific facts about a health issue. There are times on the show where we will see that there are health consequences for recognizing and strengthening the socioeconomic and cultural bonds between us. Spiritual health, depends on that connectivity. Finally, there are going to be times on Dr. America where we need to pause and celebrate the health and health policy accomplishments and learn from our heroes. Our concept of health should be multidimensional, and through Dr. America, I am really excited to take that journey. I appreciate you guys taking the time to enjoy and explore this episode with me. Thank you so much for joining us, and until next week, salud to your health.